Ya diddy da diddy da da da. 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 Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Here we go. Ya diddy da diddy da da da. 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 Da 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 da. Da 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 da. One more time. Ya diddy da diddy da da da. 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 Da 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 da.
Yada da yada da da da. Yada da yada da da da. Yada da da da. Yada da 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 da. Ma tovu olecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu olecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Yada da yada da da da. Yada da yada da da da. Yada da yada da da da. Yada da da. Shabbat Shalom and welcome everybody to our Shabbat morning service. We're coming to you from our beautiful sanctuary, and as I think you can see, the leaves are just, I don't know how this happened.
Yeah.
1 week you look out and it was half, and then
And now it's just
it's
bursting with color.
completely
Yep.
filled in. It's been raining a lot here in Kansas City, so that might help a little bit. I am Rabbi Javier Carapan, and I am joined this morning by Leslie Zucker and our technical team. Special thanks to our BOW committee for bringing us beyond our walls. And if you are interested and are technically inclined, we invite you to join our BOW committee as a volunteer. If you'd like to be part of the team, please reach out to any one of us in the office. We'll get you in touch with the right people. Joining us on Facebook Live, you can find links to the prayer book pages, PDF, and other information in the comment section. And if you're joining us on the virtual sanctuary, the link to the PDF is right above the player, and all other links were in the e-news that you received yesterday. Again, welcome to our service. If you'd like to say hello, we invite you to type Shabbat Shalom in the comments. Don't forget to click return, and don't forget to let us know where are you located. Finally, write down this number if you haven't already. Maybe you have it already programmed in your cell phone by now. It's 303-1134. That is Tal, a technical assistance line. And if you get disconnected or have trouble finding us again after you get disconnected, please feel free to text the number and one of our docents will get back to you as soon as possible. Glad you're joining us on this Shabbat, and together we continue with Birkot HaShachar, the morning blessings, on page 186.
מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך. מודה אני לפניך, מלך חי וקיים, שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה, בחמלה, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך, רבה אמונתך.
Page 194. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר יצר את האדם בחוכמה, וברא בו נקבים נקבים, חלולים חלולים, גלוי וידוע לפני כיסא כבודך, שאם יפתח אחת מהם, או יסתם אחת מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני, רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות.
אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, טהורה היא, אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא, אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא.
Page 198. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לשכל ובינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עברי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקד על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליעף כוח.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני ותמונה מעפעפי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בן חורי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך melech haolam, Otel Yisrael b'tiva.
Amen. You know what I've been doing? I suggest that everybody does this next time. Try to chant each one of the blessings with one breath.
Oh, nice. Yes, absolutely.
Fill yourself and the blessing.
That makes it a meditation as well. I mean, it's already a meditation, but that really takes it to the next
Take
level
a deep breath,
of involving
and
your
then
entire
one
being.
breath is one blessing.
Yeah, I like it.
Next week we'll try again.
Okay.
Page 204.
Challenge accepted.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah.
Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur.
Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Ve'elu hen
Kibud
ava'im ugmilut chasadim ve'ashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'arvit. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, ואלו הם.
בהכנסת אורחים,
וביקור חולים, והכנסת כלה, ולוויית המת, ועיון תפילה, ועיון תפילה, ואהבת שלום בין אדם לחברו, ותלמוד לתורה כנגד כולם, ותלמוד לתורה כנגד כולם, ותלמוד לתורה כנגד כולם. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, ואלו הם. Page 212, Pezukei de Zimra, verses of praise. Baruch she'amar ve'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu. Baruch oseh ve'reshit, Baruch omer ve'oseh, Baruch gozer u'mekayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch meshalem sachar tov lirehav, Baruch chai lahad, ve'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch Shemo. Page 211. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah,
Hallelujah,
bekodesho.
Hallelujah, Hallelujah, birki yauzor. Hallelujah, bigvurotav. Hallelujah, kerov kulo. Al haneshama tehallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 b'tek hashofar. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, b'nevel v'chinor. Hallelujah, b'tof u'machor. Hallelujah, b'minim ve'ugah. Kol haneshama tehallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 betzilzelei shama. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, betzilzelei teruah. Kol הנשמה תהלליה, הללויה, הללויה, כל הנשמה תהלליה,
הללויה,
הללויה. On page 227, we begin our preparation for the recitation of the Shema with a blessing. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat kriat Shema lehamlicho belevav shalem uleyachado belev tov uleovdo b'nefesh chafetza. Praise are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us how to recite the Shema, to declare wholeheartedly God's rule, to declare earnestly God is one, and to willingly worship God. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, al Tzion ta'ir, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, al Tzion ta'ir, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, על ציון תאיר, אור חדש על ציון תאיר, על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו.
ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אמת. We continue together, page 239. Emet, there is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא.
שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ויאמרו,
אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, עושה פלא, עושה פלא, עושה פלא.
We continue now with our Amidah, our standing prayer. We invite you to join us in Sur Israel on page 240 and then continue silently through page 260. You may choose to use the words in our Siddur, in our prayer book, and also offer a prayer from your own hearts. We begin together.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחי נומך ביהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. יהיו לרצון עם לפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני
Service continues with the service of the reading of the Torah, page 367, Romemu. Sorry.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו
Ki, ki, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki, ki, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodesho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodesho. Ki.
Oh, every once in a while, we're not exactly in sync.
So that melody it looks like it doesn't have an end, right?
Yes.
It-
I feel like it could go on as a song that never ends. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's scary.
There are worse songs that to have stuck in your head. What? The sermon song. Oh, funny. Dave made a joke. That's why we keep him behind the camera.
Just a reminder to everybody that you can find a link to the reading for this Shabbat morning in the comments and also in the e-news. And today we are reading from the Haftarah selection. It is the Haftarah for Parashat Naso, which I mentioned, I think, last night, is the longest Torah portion in the entire cycle of Torah portions. Single one, right? If you combine a few of them, it might be longer, but the single longest Torah portion. And the Haftarah is one of the most famous, if not the famous. And I always say this, right? You listen to me and you're like, well, he's always everything is very famous. But this one actually, I think, is pretty much the most famous, well-known story in the prophetic books.
Now I'm curious. That I did not read
So-
ahead.
Now, we're only reading the very beginning of the story, but it is the story of the birth of Samson. Now, if you never heard the story of Samson and Delilah, I highly recommend Camille Saint-Saëns's take on it. It's a beautiful opera. I think it's the epitome of the romantic opera.
Okay.
Lots of strings and flowing melodies and all that. Every time I listen to, especially a couple of the arias that Delilah or Dalila sings, is beautiful. So there, recommendation: Samson et Dalila by Camille Saint-Saëns. Not a Jew, but still, it's very good. Now, the story of Samson begins with the announcement of his birth. And it is in that particular narrative that we find the connection to Parashat Naso as it appears in the book of Numbers. And it is when Samson was about to be born. Well, before that, his mother was barren. Now, that story we've seen in other cases, a barren woman who can't give birth, and a visitor comes to her in a dream or in person. It's type of an angel or a messenger from God and tells her, do this, and you shall give birth in due time. What she's asked to do is very strange, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I really want to talk about Samson, but so that you know the connection, is that she's asked to refrain from drinking alcohol, or doing any other impure touchings of things. And the messenger says to her that her son will be a Nazir in Hebrew, or a Nazir.
Testing, 1, 2. Hi, everybody. All right, my sound is working. We're just working on the rabbis. This is a very interesting a sermon. It only, yeah. We are working on the sound, folks.
I only have 2 bars, but I guess it will work. There we go. Can anybody tell me where did I drop? How much you people heard? I'm sorry? Impure things. All right. So I'm sorry you missed. Well, we're back. So the big difference between what we have in the Torah portion and what we have in the Haftarah is that Samson doesn't get to decide that he will become a Nazarite. It's something that his mother decides for him, and as a result, he is actually going to be the person who will save the Jews, the Jewish people, for the very first time against the Philistines. And Samson grows up to be a man, and we all know that his power resides in following the rules of the Nazarite, and one of them is that he's not to cut his hair. In a commentary written by Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin in his book, this is a book that I shared with some of our B'nai Mitzvah students. It's called the JPS B'nai Mitzvah Torah Commentary. And I like the commentary in that sometimes it gives us some down-to-earth explanations that you could share with a 12-year-old and they will grasp it. And Rabbi Salkin, without going into a lot of detail, talks about Samson as the first superhero and how Samson might have been an inspiration for superhero cartoons. And we all know that many of them were Jewish men who wrote these stories. So perhaps there is a connection. I mean, certainly Samson is more like a hero of ancient Greece and other places than a Jewish guy. No, because if you really look into the traditional understanding of heroism in Judaism, it most likely does not involve a lot of physical strength, but moral and ethical heroism. The Mishnah teaches Mi'u Gibor, who is a Gibor, a hero, the one who resists temptation. And even in that context, Samson is not a hero because his issue is that he cannot resist temptation. Again, I watch the opera or read the story. Delilah is the person who finally gets to figure out what's the source of Samson's power, and it's his hair, so they cut his hair. And I'll tell you in a little bit what happens if you haven't read it. But whether Samson and the story of Samson was the inspiration for the superhero cartoon environment, we're not sure about that. But we are sure of one thing, that Samson was looked or considered by the early Zionists as a very important character. And I think you can all guess by now why, right? Samson is the first of the judges on that period that defeats the Philistines, who are the warring, the enemies of the Jewish people in those days. And since the birth of the state of Israel, I think we have had, and a lot of people agree with this, kind of a change in how Jews relate to physical strength. And we've become strong in a sense, like Samson, a very famous early Zionist leader, and Rabbi Solkin pointed this out to me, Vladimir, or sometimes called Ze'ev Jabotinsky, wrote a novel about Samson. And in his book, Samson derives his physical strength from his hair, which is true. I don't know how, but it's true. And he also admires and learns from the military strength of his enemies, the Philistines. Now, when this was being written, Philistines, I believe, did not mean Palestinians, although it's the same word, basically. What Jabotinsky was thinking is that the Jews must learn from the British in particular how to become soldiers. And as a matter of fact, that's how it happened. Many of the officers in the IDF and the early Tzahal were trained by the British. And then they attacked the British, so it didn't work out well for the British. But
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. That your delivery is very good.
well, thank you. Now, Samson's story, as we know, does not end well. It doesn't end bad either, but it doesn't end well, because ultimately Delilah betrays him, and she turns him over to the Philistines, who cut his hair, and they put him in prison, and they blind him. And that's how the last act of Samson and Delilah begins, with Samson walking around blind, being enslaved. But his hair starts to grow back, and he gets some strength. He prays to God, and he gets some strength back, and so he's able to pull down the pillars of the Philistine temple, and he kills many of the Philistines, and he also dies in that big thing. So are there any lessons, I think there are, that we can learn about the use of strength by Jewish people and how this relates to what we've just seen in this past week? Just remember, Samson is a paradigm of the physically powerful Jew, but his downfall is that he is, if you want, not as wise as he could be. He's emotionally and morally blind. And that is because he allows himself to be seduced by Delilah, knowing very well that she was a Philistine and there was risk involved in that. And that happens before, Rabbi Solkin points out, he becomes physically blind. Mm-hmm. So here's perhaps the core of the story, that physical strength without vision and wisdom sometimes could be more dangerous than with. And the way I interpret this, according to what we look at this week's, is that a lot of the things in Israel, between Israel and the Palestinians, is that we may have the physical strength, but we lack a vision, a political will on the part of the players on both sides to actually come to some kind of an agreement. And so perhaps Samson is really a hero, but if he's going to be our model, we need to be aware that he's an incomplete hero. that a hero who could save Israel from the Philistines had the strength and the power, but that did not last. As a matter of fact, there are many other judges that come after him because the Philistines continue to war against the Jews in that period. So if we could, what we should aspire in every generation is that we need to find that hero in us who is strong physically, but is also strong internally, spiritually, has that wisdom with it. And that might be then the challenge of the story of Samson, that Samson was able to have only one half, but without the other half, then things are not going to last. So it's maybe a lot to ask in the middle of the hostilities, but we do have to try to make sure that we have the physical strength and the wisdom to what we will call the political will to resolve the conflict. It was really too good to pass, the story of Samson.
It fits so well into
this week
the world.
in the world.
Incomplete heroes.
On page 372, we join together the blessings before, reciting the Haftarah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar bנביאים טובים, ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה, אדוני, הבוחר בתורה, ובמשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק.
Amen.
There was a certain man from Zorah, of the stock of Dan, whose name was Manoach, and his wife was barren and had borne no children. And an angel of Adonai appeared to the woman and said to her, "You are barren." I'm just like,
In case
all
you
right,
didn't
thank
know.
you. "And have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now be careful not to drink wine or other intoxicant or to eat anything unclean. For you are going to conceive and bear a son. Let no razor touch his head, for the boy is to be a Nazarite to God from the womb on. He shall be the first to deliver Israel from the Philistines." The woman went and told her husband, "A man of God came to me and looked like an angel of God, very frightening. I did not ask him where he was from, nor did he tell me his name. He said to me, 'You are going to conceive and bear a son. Drink no wine or other intoxicant, and eat nothing unclean, for the boy is to be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death.' Manoach pleaded with Adonai. 'Oh, my Lord,' he said, 'please let the man of God that you send come to us again, and let him instruct us how to act with a child that is to be born.' God heeded Manoach's plea, and the angel of God came to the woman again. She was sitting in the field, and her husband Manoach was not with her. The woman ran in haste to tell her husband, who said to him, 'The man who came to me before has just appeared to me again.' Manoach promptly followed his wife. He came to the man and asked him, 'Are you the man who spoke to my wife?' 'Yes,' he answered. Then Manoach said, 'May your words soon come true. What rules shall be observed for the boy?' The angel of Adonai said to Manoach, 'The woman must abstain from all the things against which I warned her. She must not eat anything that comes from the grapevine, or drink wine or other intoxicant, or eat anything unclean. She must observe all that which I have commanded her.'" And again, it's a long story, so we just get the Annunciation piece. Blessings after the reading of the Haftarah on page 372. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד עולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
We come to our moment when we offer a prayer for healing. You may have access to the Mishaberach list through the e-news that you receive Friday morning. You can also follow the link in the comments. If you are about to offer names, we invite you to type them in the comments so we can all see them. Please go ahead, begin typing us together. We join our voices in singing the Mishaberach prayer on page 371.
Mishaberach Avotenu, Mekor HaBeracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu, Mekor HaBeracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And this Shabbat, we want to add a special prayer in solidarity for the people of Israel and for peace. Avinu, our loving parent, you who are high above all nations, states, and peoples, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life, bless the people of the state of Israel. Be their loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace. Guide their leaders and advisors by your light of truth. Instruct them with your good counsel. Sovereign of all the world, may your laws of kindness guide its people, and may the teachings of your prophets live within their hearts and ours. The prophet Micah proclaimed only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk humbly with your God. Awaken your spirit in the Jewish people and the whole human family. Implant within us all patience and mutual respect. Uproot from our midst hatred, violence, coercion, and exploitation. For this and this alone we pray. Make peace in the land. May all its inhabitants be blessed. And may this vision of your prophets soon be achieved. Nation shall not lift sword against nation, neither shall we learn war anymore. Amen. We conclude our service for the reading of the Torah, singing together Etz Chaim on page 374 in the middle of the page. we continue with our moment of remembrance. Before we get to the Kaddish, I invite you to turn to page 593. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see light. In light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Joining us on this Shabbat, we invite you to type names of those you may be remembering today. And together, as a congregation, we are observing the Shiva period for Charlotte Cohen, mother and mother-in-law of Susan and Mitchell Krasnopoler, and the Shloshim period for Phyllis Lenski, cousin of Judy Weingarten, Lisa Jones, sister and sister-in-law of Cynthia and Mark Connor, and Paulina Biderman, grandmother and grandmother-in-law of Lala and Ilya Binstock, and great-grandmother of Emily Binstock. And as a congregation, we remember the following yortzites: Lester Aronson, Jason Arkin, Riva Balanov, Evelyn Dukowski, Ruby Fleider, Gay Franklin, Beatrice Glacier, Sol Gould, Rose Kaufman, Rose Klinok, Maurice Klasnik, Irving Lampert, Milton Irving Mann, Bernard Mishkin, Sarah Lee Optikin, Norman Reisman, Melvin Silverman, Henrietta Waxman. Zichronam livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Kaddish Tom is on page 598. Itgadal v'itkadash shmei rabba, be'alema divra chirute ve'amlich malchute, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו.
Time for some announcements. I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us from our area and from around the country and the world. Special thanks to Leslie Zucker and our technical team for making this possible. Next Shabbat service is Friday, May 28th. Here inside our sanctuary, we have an in-person service. And during the service, we will have another edition of Ask the Rabbi. It would be me. And we're talking about Jewish cooking. It's not a cooking demonstration. I won't cook anything. But we'll talk about Jewish religious and ethical considerations around Jewish food, which it's everything.
Yes.
We'll get there. So bring your questions. You can ask questions if you're here in person. You can also ask questions during the service. If you're on Facebook Live, you can also text the questions to the technical assistance line. We are now multi-access here at Beth Torah, so you can reach us in all those different ways during the service. And we ask you that you reach out to us in one more fashion. We normally don't get notifications if you go to a hospital or a nursing home and you are there for a while. And would like, now that many places are open, like us to can visit or give you a call. So please, we need your help. If you would like us to know, get in touch with us or ask a family member to do so. You can also choose to add call CBT rabbis to your emergency instructions.
And then Wednesday, the 26th, is the last Wednesday song session of the summer. We are going to be moving to Tuesdays. So this coming Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Facebook Live and Virtual Sanctuary. And then starting in June, the first and third Tuesdays of the month. And that'll be at the same time, 7 o'clock. Just changing the day and the frequency.
Anything else?
I think that's it for me.
We conclude our service together singing Adon Olam.
Adon
Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'ed Nasa, בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה.
Adon Olam.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Take care of each other out there.